beautiful UpYou community. Good morning. Welcome to the first episode of UpyouwithEzinne in the month of July. How you all doing? Hope July is treating you good so far. One thing I can say about this year, it does appear that it's running very fast. It's already the 5th day of the 7th month of the year. We stay grateful and focused. Today we're starting on a new series, Woman Stack Up. That's right. All through July, we talk about the power of stack up. It's an hour on radio, and I'm here to keep you company wherever you may be. So let's do this, my beautiful people. Finding self, finding purpose. My name is Ezinne Kufrekanem, and I'm your host. Welcome back. Be kind to follow us on all our social media platforms at UpyouwithEzinne on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to connect with you and keep the conversation going long after the program has ended. So, what is Stack Up? Chronicling your journey through life, keeping a record of your part, your wins, your fails, your all, as a reference material for your sake and posterity. Recall that an unexamined life is not truly a lived life. So Stack Up helps us to see how far, how well, or how bad you have come, and also helps you to know what to do next. We're all made up of stories, and we are the stories we stack up. What stories did you hear from your mother? And what stories are you telling your daughters? If you want to know how to stack up, and the many benefits of stacking up as a woman living in this fast-paced world of ours and much more, then stay tuned to UpyouwithEzinne all through this month of July. We kick off the new series today, and our discussion topic is Woman, Stack Up Your Story. Dear listeners, that all episodes of UpyouwithEzinne are now uploaded on our YouTube channel and also on our podcast channel. Please go catch up, take the nuggets you need to run your dreams and your life. Subscribe and leave us a comment. It will help us to serve you better. Remember, it's all about you. Today, as usual, we're streaming on Instagram at UpyouwithEzinne and at radiogarden.com. You're tuned in to UpyouwithEzinne on mainland 98.3 FM. The topic on the burner is Woman Stack Up. Don't touch that dial. It's time to bring up our guest. Our guest today is Mrs. Aisida, a sociable, multifaceted individual who is deeply interested in learning, transferring, and disseminating knowledge acquired in various areas to other people. Tara is highly resourceful and has interests in several areas of life. She trained as a legal practitioner and has over 30 years' experience in active legal practice, stacked up. She has had over 10 years' experience in training parents as the registrar of the School of Parenting in her local church. Tara has for the past 3 years written a column called Tara's Diary on an online newspaper, www.thisislagos.ng. Talk about stacking up. She also runs a cake shop called Taralicious Treats. That sounds really edible. Listen, guys, Tara is the mother of 2 adult children. Dear listeners, please join me in welcoming a very beautiful guest this morning, Mrs. Tara Aisida.
Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning, darling.
Good morning,
you look
Ezinne.
amazing.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you very much. I was going to put someone downstairs to wait for you, and I was saying to the person, she's got orange hair. And then you turn up and it's purple. Lagos, can you see this gorgeous woman? How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
I didn't even think 2 times. When we decided that it was going to be the Stack Up month, it just came to me straight. There's one woman who I know whose other name should be Stack Up. And so I just said, Tara, and I'm glad that you're here. So let's roll.
Thank you for having me, Lagos.
It's necessary to chronicle your journey through life, keeping a record of your failures as well as your successes. I call it Stack Up. So to build a reference material from your journey for your own sake and for posterity as well. You understand that, and that is why you're here today, to help us and all of Lagos and beyond to understand this power of stacking up our lives on this journey that we are on. Okay, so let's go, shall we?
Fire on.
All right. So please tell us, what's your perspective and your understanding of this topic? Woman stack up.
Well, I think if we were to say one word, I think it would be mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yes, being mindful of your journey. Be mindful of your strengths. Be mindful of your weaknesses. Be mindful of the things that make you happy, things that make you sad. Just being mindful, living in the moment, enjoying the moment, reminiscing, looking back, thinking what could have been better. Thank God I had that experience, just piling up your memories and learning from them. And then learning not only from yesterday, but from today. The only word I will give stack up is mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yes, being aware.
Staying present.
Yes, being aware.
In your present.
Yes.
In your yesterday well as in your today.
Yes.
Oh my God, I like how you summed that up. In fact, you have even made me to understand better what mindfulness is all about. Oh wow. Lagos, I warned you guys about this woman. Well, let me just open the phone lines because this discussion is heating up. So the lines to call, to WhatsApp, to text is 0913 6000 410. Call us, send us SMSs, WhatsApp us. We'll get it all and we'll read it here. Okay? So today we'll be focusing on stacking up on her stories, or she stories, if you like. For most of history, Anonymous was a woman.
Yeah.
Women did not share their stories because they did not have platforms to speak, write, or even share. So generations of women listened to his story and believed in a singular point of view. They tell stories about wars. We didn't go to wars, so we can connect. The stories they used to tell don't talk about menopause. It doesn't talk about miscarriages. And so we don't connect, So we don't connect. And even today, we're embarrassed to talk about what we want, what we need, what we've gone through at home, at work, everywhere, because society says we can't have those conversations. We can't stack up that way. What do you think?
I will say that for most women, and it's my personal opinion, first of all, yes, our stories have not been told. They're getting to be told now. But in the past, women were almost like children. We were told to be there, but not to be open, not to be present. And of course, it was a patriarchal society. Still is to a great extent. But then we told our stories. We just told them in hushed tones. We never talked about them out loud. We never came out to the public to talk about them. And I believe, my personal opinion, like I said earlier, that women we don't tell our stories because we don't even know our stories. I personally believe that women don't know themselves until they're in their 30s. There's no study to back that up. But from my own experience, from the experiences of quite a number of women I've spoken with, we don't know what we want early in life. It's basically when life has gone through us that we wake up and say, oh, I want this, and oh, no, I don't want this. So that has been a main factor, because we don't know who we are, we don't know what we are, we don't know what we have, and we can't relate with our world, so to speak, where we don't tell our stories easily. But thankfully, we're coming out of that shell, and women are talking today. We're still not, a lot of us are being hushed up. I get comments a lot, for example, for my hair, why? And I say, look, I'm old enough to know what I want now, and so I'm going to tell my stories, and I'm going to, welcome every woman to tell us. So, yeah, there are platforms. Luckily for us, the younger generation is telling their stories. And that's why we say, can't they keep things, must they say everything? But because of the repression, they just want to come out and say everything they have to say, So, yes, we're telling our stories, and hopefully they're being heard.
I really don't blame the younger generation, because we didn't have much stories for them to look back on and take learnings from. I'll give you a personal example. I watched my mother-in-law go through menopause, and I was always like, very afraid because I didn't understand. 1 minute she's like hot. Next minute she's cold. So I thought she was really having some major health issues. And I will tell her, let's go to the hospital. And she will say, no, my daughter, don't worry, my daughter. Several years down the line, I'm now going through menopause. And I'm finally understanding what was going on with her several years ago.
Yeah.
If only she had opened her mouth and said to me, my daughter, this is menopause. This is what happens when it's going on. I would have been better prepared for menopause now.
It's the same thing with even giving birth. Nobody tells, you watch films and you see the woman scream and you see the woman, and you think, oh, the pain can't be that much. Nobody really tells you.
Until you get in there.
And then when you finish having the baby, they'll say, oh, so now you know how to. But why didn't you warn me? And tell me this is the way it's going to be? Because when birth pangs start at first, you're wondering, is this what they're talking about? Until,
the main gym
hits you. So that's the reason why I write the things I write. Because I want other people to share from their experiences. I don't want anyone to go through life wondering about things that other people have conquered.
God bless you. You just, in fact, the episode is over. She has said it all. Stack up so that people don't just make the same mistakes. We keep repeating them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You just hit it on the nail. Boom. Oh, okay, great. So now, you see, we're telling stories now about the pains that our bodies carry.
Yeah.
We're telling stories, and there are other stories that we can tell of trauma, of joy, of happiness, of ecstasy, of grief, and even of numbness. There are some stories that are passed on to us. I agree.
Yeah.
Then through bodies, through memories, through beliefs, practices, rituals of practice religion.
Yeah.
And then there are other stories that we create for ourselves.
True.
We're just stories. Tell me, what stories did you receive from your mother, Tara? And what stories are you passing on to your daughter?
Okay. Yeah, I think, funny enough, I grew up with a quite liberal mother. My mother went to university. She studied as a pharmacist, and she was very, very liberal. My friends, male, female, could come into the house. My boyfriends could come into the house when, I was in university, take me out with our knowledge, So I grew up with a single parent too. So I think the greatest story she's told me was, if a man slaps you, he will beat you.
Wow.
So physical abuse was a no-no.
Wow,
she said
deep.
The minute he slaps you, he's going to beat you. So always run away from someone that will slap you. So that for me was a lesson. I wasn't going to take slapping or physical abuse or emotional abuse from anybody, because I was more than that. And I knew that it wasn't a way to show love, to somebody. So that, I think, is the greatest lesson my mom passed to me verbally. Of course, she passed other lessons to me unconsciously, like we pass other lessons too to our children unconsciously. I think for me, the greatest lesson, my daughter will be the judge of it, and I have a 26-year-old,
Lagos, you need to see this woman. She doesn't even look 26, and she has a 26-year-old.
26-year-old. She's turning 26 this July.
Oh,
I think the greatest lesson, thank you. I think the greatest lesson she would say she's learned from me is to be yourself.
That's a very good gift to give to your girl child.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Do not apologize for who you are.
Yeah.
That's quite deep. I'm happy that you're in your bio. You mentioned that you're interested in learning and transferring knowledge from various places.
Yes.
That's what you're doing right now. And you're passionate about it.
Yes.
To the extent that you have even taken on the responsibility of being the registrar in your local church.
Yes.
Still teaching parents how to parent their children.
Yes.
Why is this a thing for you? Why is it a passionate pursuit? Yeah.
Like I said, looking back was a turning point for me. There was a plane crash some years back. I can't really remember what plane crash it was. But I do remember that there was a survivor in that plane crash.
Yes,
you know.
Okuche.
I can't. No, I don't think it was that. I think it wasn't the young girl. You know, it wasn't the Loyola Jesuit one.
All right.
You know, and there was people wanted to. Journalists came to interview her. And I think her family ushed her up and, told her not to say anything, and nobody could say, because they wanted to find out how, in the midst of everyone, she survived. And that struck me, because I thought to myself, if I was in a plane crash, I would want other people to know what I did, how minute it was, to know how to survive. And that hit me. Now, close to 4 years ago, I became widowed. I lost my husband.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. And, it just occurred to me, and it occurred to me when I lost him, that I had stories to tell, especially by the journey of widowhood. And so I started to write. And that's why I started writing on thisislagos.ng. The first piece I wrote was, what's in a title? And it struck me because somebody came to pray for me. Of course, when they hear that, you've lost your husband, your house is filled with mourners and, people coming, friends and loved ones. And, the first thing they said when they were praying, oh, God help the widow. A widow. Who is the widow here? And it struck me that I was the widow that they were talking about, and for me, that was the first time I was confronted with that, Afterwards, I went to the bank one day, and my bank officer just, said, oh, Mrs. Aisida, good morning. And the thought that came to my mind immediately was, there's no Mrs. without a Mr. So he did nothing wrong. He was doing his job and he did it well, but they were all reminders. And I just thought to myself, if I feel this way, somebody else is feeling that way. And I need to educate people, to tell them that sometimes the things that we do consciously, most times unconsciously, matter a lot, and that's how I started to write. And that's how I started to share. So I've never hoarded information. I can say that before internet came online, Google, I was the go-to person. If you wanted to do something, my friends would come and meet me. Where can I get this? Where can I get that? So I've always loved sharing whatever I know, so that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for going the way you went, because I was going to say that I've read your stories. Your stories heal. Every time I read a piece of your story, at first I didn't used to comment because they were so deep, they were so open, and I'm like, how does she even remember all of this to write all of this down? There was one about a party. You remembered everybody, how the party went. I'm like, how does she remember all of this stuff? I'm like, okay, is it that she has a good memory, or she's been stacking up all of this and everything? So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to interview this woman. I need to find out. And then now you've brought it down to one of the things you did that I found very profound. You wrote about widowhood.
Yeah.
You wrote about being a widow. You wrote about what it meant. You wrote about how we should behave around someone who's lost a spouse and all of that. And I'm like, this is Africa. What is she doing? Tell me, how did people receive that?
Well, a lot of people, first of all, the widows, were happy that, people were finally talking about. And I'm not the only one, I must say. There are quite a number of, it's until you get into something that you know that there are other people around. So there are quite a number of widows organizations run by widows themselves, creating awareness, creating, a social connection for one another, because of course our journeys are unique from every other person. And then I've had people talk to me about my things that they became aware of. I've had people say, oh, I never saw it in this light, so I'm going to change. I didn't know it meant this way, or I didn't know that what I was doing, could be interpreted in this manner. So I've had people like that. I've had most times good reviews. Really, really, really. Great.
Remember, guys, the number to call is 0913 6000 410. Tara is in the studio, and Tara is a story stacker. She knows how to stack up stories on her journey. Stories that I have even read and taken lessons from. Yeah? So please call in and ask her how you can start to stack up your own journey. All right? Okay, so while we wait for all of that, Tara, in your bio, you didn't say anything about whether you have a shiro or not, but I'm going to ask you, do you have a shiro? Someone you look up to? Do you know her story?
Well, I look up to a lot of people for different things. Like I tell people, I have mentors in almost every field of life. I have mentors I have a friend that I call my mentor in my profession because she's always so detailed, so on point, so serious about her job. I'm not. I have mentors in writing. I have mentors in every area of life. If I see something that I like, about you, I'll look at you and I'll try and copy it. But looking at a shiro, I think the person that would fit that role properly would be Maya Angelou.
Okay, that's a phenomenal woman of all time.
And why? I find it, when people rise beyond their circumstances, I find it quite intriguing.
Please hold your thought. We have a call. Good morning, UpyouwithEzinne. Oh, we lost the call. Okay, go ahead.
So, Maya Angelou, I read her book. She has autobiographies in 7 small books. I haven't read them all, but I have all of them. I'm just looking for one rainy day with a hot cup of tea to finish them up. But, I'm intrigued by the fact that at 8, she was molested, and she stopped talking for like 5 years. She got pregnant. Why? Because she wanted to prove to herself that she wasn't a lesbian. She was dancing in a nightclub. At the time, she was a pimp. For women, she had a house where women would stay and she would pimp them. She went through so many things that would normally destroy somebody else. And she's come up on tops, an international enigma, just before she died. Now, her life intrigues me. I've always wondered if I could, fall to the deep pit, if I could always rise. So I always admire people like that. So I would say Maya Angelou is my shiro.
Somehow, thank you. Somehow I suspected that it wouldn't be a Nigerian you're going to mention. Because we don't put our stories there.
True.
I don't know. We are stories.
Yes.
Women, men even, we are stories. Each one of us is a story waiting to be told. So I don't know why we don't tell the stories. Some of the things we learned today, sometimes I wonder, I say to myself, so who was the first person who made egusi soup?
We don't know.
So how did the person know that this and this and that will combine to make egusi soup?
Yeah, so who started frying dodo?
Exactly. And then, so how did it now go down generations to now come and reach me? So then I think they even did better then because they passed the stories through word of mouth. Now we have all kinds of platforms that we can use, like you said in the beginning, to stack up our stories, to stack up our journeys. And the truth is, if you're not stacking up, then you are truly not living. Because there's nothing for you to look back on and reflect. Did I do this well? Did I not do this well? And then what scares me the most is, as women, we are nurturers and we are carriers of even the future generation. So if I don't tell my story, how difficult it was for me, or how challenging, or how interesting, or how anything, I may just be robbing my next generation from knowing some things that can even make them greater than I am.
Yeah, I think the problem really is that we're afraid of being vulnerable.
Why?
I don't know, and that's why in a way I write.
But that's the same thing. We are always vulnerable before our male publics.
Are we? No, we don't share. We're not vulnerable. We can be naked, but not vulnerable. If that's what you mean.
Okay, please, can you?
We can be naked and not naked. What you mean? We're vulnerable. We cry. We're naked when we make love. But that doesn't mean that we allow people to see the ways that we feel. And because we don't, and sometimes, a lot of times, we're not even honest with ourselves. So it's
our agenda.
We're not honest with ourselves. I tell people in my writings, that it's okay to say you're jealous. It's okay for me to say, I looked at your dress and I like this dress and I'm actually envious. It's a feeling. Accept that feeling, move on. But we're not honest with ourselves, so we don't even know our own feelings, and then we're afraid of being vulnerable because we think if we're vulnerable, people won't like us or people would think bad about us. So when I write, so I've written stories and my writings, and people call me and say that's too much. I remember I wrote about abortion at a point, and I sent it to my kids, I sent it to my mom, I sent it to my brother, and they all my kids were like, okay, mommy, what? If you're going to post it on Facebook, we'll be in the comment section waiting for anybody that is unfortunate. My mom was like, Tara, you don't have to say this. You don't have to be this vulnerable. But I felt it was a story I had to tell, So, we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to tell people where we've missed it. And so because of that, we hide ourselves, we hide our stories, and we don't talk about them.
And that's why the stories now become dark and negative. Let me use the same example that you used. I like your dress. I quite envy the way you look. If you throw it out, then it's lost its power. But if you put it in your mind, it now stays there, and then the envy will now take your heart.
Yes.
And then you will now grow from envy to,
and everything
to resentment. So, and then you now wake up and say, I don't like Tara. And you don't even know why you don't like Tara.
Yes.
But what you really want to say is, or what you really should have said is, I love your energy.
Yes.
Then you can draw off her energy, and then you still continue on your journey. Who did this to us?
I don't know.
The phone line to call, the phone lines are open. We're waiting for your calls. It's 0913 6000 410. Please call us. So, when we stack up, we heal ourselves.
We do.
Can you share on that?
So, of course, we tell our stories. When we tell our stories, we learn from our stories. I found out, I don't know whether it happens to other women, but I found out that when I talk about my feelings, I understand myself better.
True.
As I'm talking to a friend and whatever, my emotions and my feelings, my thought patterns, they align. So I understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and what to do. So for me, talking is important, and we're women, we're built that way. We're built to talk. So when we tell our stories, we not only talk to other people, but we heal ourselves. I wrote a piece on thisislagos.ng, on journaling. Journaling is kind of telling your story too, because when you write what you feel, you're talking to yourself. Sometimes you don't even know that you feel the way you feel until you begin to write. When you write and then you look back and say, so there was a point in my life that I felt this way. Oh, wow.
We have a call.
Okay, great.
Good morning. Up you with Ezinne. Who is calling and where are you calling from?
Okay. I thought it's so important for women to heal up when they feel bad, but where can we start between forgiving and then healing up and forget what has happened to us? Did you hear me?
Yes, I think so. Okay, so Beatrice is saying is one thing for you to speak up that you feel bad, but what about forgiving? After you've spoken that you feel bad, because women can tell stories of what happened to them, but they've just not forgiven that person that hurt them.
Okay, so forgiving is a choice. What I tell people that works for me is that when I feel hurt by someone, I don't have to meet the person. I wake up in the morning, I say, oh, this person has hurt me. I forgive the person. And I say, because, state out the person's name, and I say, I forgive you. Now, the hurt comes back. It will come back. We can't forget the things that have been done to us. We won't forget. We will never forget. After a while, there are lapses in our memories. So that means that, yes, it's gone. You can't remember in total what has happened step by step But we're not meant to forget. We're just meant to learn from the experiences and move on. So forgiveness is something that is a choice that you make. It's not an emotion. It's not a feeling. And you just make that choice. Like I said, what I do, say I've forgiven you, and I move on. When I remember again, I say I've forgiven you until the pain goes.
As many times as you have to say it until you feel good about it.
Until I feel good about it, yes.
That's nice. I hope you had that, Beatrice. So you were saying... Can you remember what you were talking about?
Yes, I was saying that when I talk to myself, then we were talking about journaling, and then journaling is speaking to yourself, and that I've found out, so many times that when I go back, maybe years after, to read, my journals, I wonder and say, oh, did I really feel this way at that particular time? But it helps me to capture the essence of what happened, to me, and to understand myself better.
Yes, that's very correct. Journaling is one aspect of stacking up. I think about 3 weeks ago, my god sister who lives abroad sent me letters that my mother wrote to her mother. Wow. 54 years ago.
Wow.
It was such a very deeply emotional and connecting moment, because my mom is late now, but I sat down and I was reading letters that she wrote to her girlfriend, and I was laughing off my brain. I was like, oh my God, they have such slangs in their own time.
And your mom was young once.
Do you understand? And I'm like, oh geez, I didn't know this woman. See, this woman, I'm reading her story, I didn't know her.
Yeah.
She was my mother, but I didn't know her. It was such an interesting thing that I carried the whole letters and I sent them to my brother, and he was like, oh wow, is this mom's call? And I'm like, yes. We didn't know this one, but this is, but we would have wanted to know this one.
Yeah.
If she had done this journaling, if she had told us the stories, we would have had a more robust relationship with her.
Yeah.
So stack up is something we should do as women. I tell you something else. I was born right after the war, but I don't know anything about the war.
History.
That story was not told in my house. I think my father and my mother had a meeting and said, you know what? Now we have a child, we are married. We will not say anything about this horrible war. So everything I know about the Nigerian Civil War, I read from books.
But they passed through it.
Do you understand? And they could have given me their story so that I will be better informed. So it is now Timamanda that is telling me about the war. Okay, we have a call. Good morning. UpyouwithEzinne, who is calling and where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from Ikeja. My name is Sharon.
Thank you. How are you?
Okay, I would like to say something. I heard the other lady talking about forgiving, and also it's not easy to forget. But she's speaking to me directly because someone did something to me last year. I don't think I can ever forgive the person in my life. We are talking terms, but each time I see the person, the pain is still in my heart. Because, man, I don't think it's something I can ever forgive. I don't know if I can say what actually transpired between the both of us, but I don't think I can ever forgive the person. Is it the right thing to do? Because I try to forgive, but whenever I remember the pain and everything I've gone through, it's so difficult. It makes me hate the person the more. So I don't think I can forgive, and I don't know.
All right, thank you. Listen up to Tara. Tara?
Well, I'm going to say something, and it's what I say about grieving. There's no one way to forgive, and there's no one way to grieve. I tell people, let people grieve as long as they want to. Let people hold on to their emotions and their hurts as long as they want to. Only if it's not hurting them. So nobody can say, oh, forgive immediately. That's what I'm trying to say. They can't give you a time period within which to forgive. Nobody can give you a time period within which to grieve. But you see, the thing about forgiveness, grieving, if it goes too long, then it begins to damage you. You can't see beyond that. And for you, it's not for the other person. That it's for you. To move on, move beyond that, because you might not just be able to move beyond that. And if it's, let me give an example. I'm not saying this is what is happening to you. It could be something to do with a relationship, a man. Now, if you don't forgive this person or move on, you're going to look at every other relationship that you have in that light, and you're going to cheat yourself of every good you might have. So those are the essence. But we can't say, oh, you must forgive within a month. You must forgive within a year, but you must tell yourself that you must move on. And in moving on, you will forgive.
Thank you, Tara. I hope you heard that. Forgiveness is really for you, not for the other person. Don't damage yourself while holding on to a grudge. Your life is beautiful. Go ahead and live it, my darling. So, Tara, time runs when you're having fun. So we need to start wrapping up.
Okay.
Of course, you can hear the 2 questions we got today.
Yes.
Wasn't even so much as stacking up, but on
moving forward.
Exactly. So that is where the women are. So how can the woman thrive again? After a disappointment or something, body, soul, and everything in between. How can the woman realize that she's got just this one life, and she's got to live it well, and do things for herself, for her own growth and her own happiness?
Well, I've always told myself first, and other people that I've spoken with, that life is for the living. Life, it is for the living. There's no point living and not enjoying life. And everybody can enjoy life in their own way. I don't have to live up to Ezinne's level to enjoy my life. I can enjoy my life. For example, I can give an example of a flight. For example, some will go on first class. Some will go in economy. Some will go in premium. But everybody is enjoying where they are. But they're all going on a journey.
We shall land
together. So while I'm in my economy, they'll still serve me food there. I'll still enjoy the food there. It might not be what they're serving in first class, but I will eat the food. I won't say because I'm not in first class, I won't enjoy the privilege of being in economy, or the privilege of being in business class. I will take all the privileges and enjoy, because we're all in different stages in life, and we're all going on different journeys. So how do we thrive? We thrive by moving forward. I say to anybody, especially when it comes to relationship, my attitude in life is that nobody will enjoy life and then I'll be pining away. No, if the other person is enjoying their life, I must enjoy my own.
I will enjoy my own. True.
So, women, enjoy your life. It's only one life we have to live, and it doesn't have to be the way every other person is enjoying their lives. Find your sweet spot. I found mine in talking, in writing, in baking, in going out,
and in legaling.
Thank you very much.
Oh wow! What a lovely conversation we've had this morning. Thank you, Tara, for coming.
Thank you so
We've
much.
learned quite a lot from you today, and honestly, mindfulness now has a new connotation for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Lagos.
Yeah. My takeout today is that women, we need to stack up. And like Tara has said, we're all at different stages in our lives. So no matter the stage where you are at, you can begin today to stack up your stories. Your stories are your validations. Whatever you've gone through, they are your own stories. Own them. Those are the stories that give you authenticity. You know, that thing that you're looking at, that you surmounted, that you think was easy because you had the strength to surmount it. I just need to hear your story to be able to have courage in my own self to be able to just keep going. Let's share the stories. Enough of frivolous things. I mean, we talk about the hair, the nails, the this and the that, but that is not really the core of us. Let's talk to our souls. Let's share stories that will make us, grow up. Stories that will make us challenge our journeys, question our journeys. Stories that will make us more than statistics, that will make us human beings. Stories that show that we are being. Trust me, sisters, your stories matter. Let's share them. Do not rob yourself and all of us of the contribution you can make to us right now and also to posterity. We're still discussing Maya Angelou. You could be the next Maya Angelou. Learn to share your stories. This is where we wrap up today's edition of Up You with Ezinne. It's been another amazing one. Please don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Up You with Ezinne. We want to continue this conversation with you. You see, there's a lot that we can actually say beyond the radio. So big up to everyone that is involved in creating this magic every week, starting with you, our dear listeners, my special guest, our advertisers, the callers, thank you, the engineers on duty, my producer Sandra, and the amazing Up You team. Thank you, Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. You all rock, you all stay strong, stay blessed, and stay lifted. My name is Ezinne Frekanem, and until I come your way next time, Up You, Up You, Up You.